The March 30 Board of Supervisors meeting to order. Let us stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Okay, we're getting ready to begin our budget session, and I'll say this to the ones of you that's coming forward to present. You're scheduled for 10 minutes. We'd like for you to speak for no more than 5 minutes and leave the rest of the time for question and answer. And how do I say this? Just say it. Just get to the point. All right.
You're going to say, don't go for level funding.
All right. Sheriff McCraney? All right.
Next. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'd like to start out with the stats. A couple of things that stick out is traffic summonses was a 200 increase from last year. Civil process was 100 civil papers increase. Our traffic crashes, the good thing of it is we had 0 fatalities. Year before we had 5. So I think that our guys and gals have increased their visibility, which is good. We also arrested our church thief, so he's sitting in our jail right now.
All right.
Thank goodness.
All right.
Line item 1100, I think everybody knows the General Assembly has proposed a 7% pay raise for deputies. The General Assembly has to come back. They have not passed a budget. I know that they've definitely passed a 5%. We're kind of in limbo. We don't know where that's going to go. Right now, starting pay for Lancaster is at 44. To compete, I would like to up that if we can. I noted that. I would like to point out that I put 47 for Westmoreland. I was tasked to reach out to Westmoreland as well. Spoke to their sheriff, it's actually 45 and not 47 right now, but they are working on it. I don't know what's gonna happen with that. Kilmarnock, there was a misprint. I reached out. We thought it was gonna be a lot more and about it fell out. Their starting pay is 43, non-certified, 45 certified, with also a $5,000 bonus. Warsaw, believe it or not, Warsaw Police Department.
Next question. How does that bonus work? Is it part of this?
I spoke to the police chief, Chief Dawson, yesterday. It's $2,500 up front, and if you're non-certified, once you graduate from the academy, you get the other $2,500. If you're certified, I think you have to wait 6 months, and then you get the other half. So it's 25 and 25.
And I would assume that you're required to stay on staff for 2 years or so.
I don't know if they've made them sign a contract or not. I don't know.
Okay.
Warsaw Police Department is starting out at 48.5.
Did you say 485?
Yes, sir, 48.5.
Wow.
I'm not sure how they came up with that number or how they're even able to pay it, but that's on their website. They're the highest paid right now, so, and they're the smallest. We did have a road deputy position open. We did fill it, but we only had 3 people apply. Nobody's certified. So we're sending that young man to the academy next month. So right now, we're 2 short because the other one's still on Coast Guard duty in Cuba. You know, to compete, we certainly have to try to compete salary-wise, whatever we can do to try to compete with those folks, to recruit and retain. The pay scale, if we followed Northumberland, that would cost $29,900 right now. Don asked me to find that number. So if we go by Northumberland's pay step scale, it would cost $29,900 as is. Obviously, if there is a pay increase, it's going to be a top-down issue because you don't want to have compression pay. Dispatch, you know, I'd like to have our dispatchers competitive as well, and start them out at 37 if we can. And I will say that some of the new toys that we've got for our dispatchers, I was able to watch CPR happen by camera phone as it was taking place. And the dispatcher was talking to the person. It was pretty awesome. The lady lived for a couple of days, but unfortunately she died. But it worked very well. Line item 3310, obviously, it seems like when our vehicles are out of, over the mileage for warranty, they go in the shop. So I'm asking for an increase with that. Line item 5540, a modest increase. I mean, we paid for a deputy just recently to attend the Law Enforcement Basic Academy as a line item. We're going to have to send another one right now, and we've had some uncertified staff attend. Obviously, line item 6008, I know that's a contract, but gas prices are very crazy right now. Line item 6009, I've asked for a small increase in the vehicle expenditure. Line item 6010, that's an increase due to our TASER maintenance fees and also our mobile radar unit, which is called the All Traffic Radar Mobile Unit Sign, which is a yearly maintenance fee of $1,500 per year.
The TASER maintenance, you said maintenance fee?
Yes, sir.
So what is exactly is that? Because I know on the capital improvement, you get the new TASERs too.
Yes, sir. There's
So-
a maintenance fee that goes with that, and Axon, you know, they have cameras and all that, they record everything. So there's a maintenance fee that goes with that, and I guess that's part of it. There's a fee for everything, Mr. Lee, unfortunately. And I wish I could control some of that, but, you know, you do something and they also throw in the maintenance fee, and that's.
So that's
about everything.
like a yearly fee?
Yes, sir.
But it could also be an updating fee as well.
It
Are
could
they
be an update. They
sending,
are constantly updating those things.
Sending
and-
patches for issues,
Yeah.
and so forth.
And I will say that new tasers are a little bit more potent than,
Yeah, so
than
you
the
want to make
old
sure
ones
they're
we
operating
have.
correctly, yeah.
I can show you the videos of some of our folks getting tased.
I was thinking a live
It was not
demonstration.
pretty.
They're multi-shot too.
They're multi-shot, so you can tase two people at one time.
Pat, let's do a live demonstration at the next meeting.
Come on down, I'm sure Jimmy would love to demonstrate. You know, I will say the old tasers, we had a mental patient who stripped all his clothes off. That was the one from TriStar. We dry tased him and it hardly even had an effect on him. We didn't hurt him. So I will say that the guys and gals used great restraint. So I'm proud of them.
And close your eyes.
Oh, Lordy, yeah, that was a mess. Let's see, line item 6011, a small increase for the uniforms. Line item 8203, which is computer equipment. We are now using an internet failover system that Soma had provided at no cost for backup when the internet went down. We had to find a failover system to replace Soma, and the one we currently have is a Verizon system that was installed by Concise Networks. And the system is a router with Wi-Fi consisting of a 5-year plan for $42.99. And additional hardware had to be purchased as well as an installation fee, and dispatchers also continue to upgrade their 911 systems such as headsets and monitors. Let's see, line item 8205, well, I think I've already said that, a small increase for patrol vehicles. Computer equipment. Line item 8207, that was, oh gosh. So we've been advised to increase our cyber security by advanced network, which will enhance our detection and response abilities, and that is a $1,100 per month in addition to our contract, and there is also a one-time $3,400 implementation fee. You know, this is what was recommended to us. I'm not a computer guru, and I will never claim to be, but this is what we were advised to do.
And $1,100 per month will be ongoing from year to year?
Yes, sir. Unless they increase their fees, Mr. Palin, who knows what they'll do.
Well, we heard something similar with Mrs. Jett when she spoke on Tuesday. Is it
Yes.
part of the same plan? Is it just mandates coming from the state,
Uh,
or recommendations coming from the state?
They are, well, probably mandates coming from the state. What she spoke about is a different system than what the sheriff has, but same basic
it's the same,
cybersecurity.
right.
Yeah.
And then our jail account, line item 3310. You know, our jail has some age to it, so we have numerous issues, maintenance issues with the jail, many dealing with plumbing, many dealing with leaky toilets. And we also just had an issue with our AC system in one of the blocks, the jail blocks. So we had red law come back. That was last week, I think it was. Line item 3320, there's been an increase in some service contracts. And then line item 6005, as everything has gone up, including cleaning and laundry supplies. And I'd be glad to take any questions if anybody has any. I know it's asking a lot of the board, and unfortunately, the state comp board only gives you so much, and typically they give you too little.
Why the $10,000 jump in repairs and maintenance?
For the jail contract?
Yes.
Yes, sir. That's for the toilets. We've had to, who are we using? The plumbing company.
Churchview?
No.
Miller's?
We're using somebody because nobody would come to fix our toilet issues, and they're more expensive, but they're there, and they are willing to do the work. We were using Miller's, but they were, you know, I don't want to criticize anybody, but they were not doing what they were supposed to do. I'm sorry. Gosh. Excuse me? No, gosh.
You're not talking about Red Law or Pritchett? No.
Is it Gilman? Might be
Gilman,
It's Gilman,
Gilman.
who's coming, but the thing of it with Gilman, they are coming and they're actually fixing our issues, and they're fairly vast.
I think
I'd
they,
be glad to give
I
a
think-
tour if anybody would like to come back there and take a look.
I think the main reason is it's a late 1970s building,
It is,
so that's,
and it's difficult to work on. Some of the items back there, it's tight, and a lot of the businesses just don't want to do it. It's a lot of work.
Okay. Any questions?
You know, as director of the emergency services, I say it almost at every meeting that if we're not safe and secure in this county, no one's going to come here. That has to be our top priority, so whatever it takes.
All right. As far as the consensus, how you feel? What's your feeling? Okay. Okay. Mr. Lee?
I'm okay.
All right, I'm okay. Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a good evening.
All right. Mr. Smith, Emergency Service Chief Smith.
oh, you gonna talk about that? Yeah. Okay.
All right, so first I'll talk about the med flight request before I get into my budget. So with MedFlight One, they send a request for funds from the localities that they serve every year, and majority of the counties contribute. But where the funding comes from is, so MedFlight One is a medevac helicopter that services our area, and they are third due for us when they're in service, and they're back to 24/7 now. They had a little bit of issues getting pilots, but now they're back up to fully staffed. So how they make this work is the helicopter and the pilots are provided by Virginia State Police, but the flight paramedics come from Chesterfield County, and also the medical supplies and the advanced medical supplies are all funded through Chesterfield. They currently do not bill for service when they do come, so they have no revenue recovery like your typical department does. So the only funds coming in is from Chesterfield County government and the offset by the state police funding. So that's where that comes from. And over the past and they do other items for us besides just helping patients out. They do a lot for search and rescues. They have for the infrared camera and a very powerful spotlight on the front of the helicopter. They'll come over for search and rescues when there's a missing person in an attempt to locate. They'll mix the helicopter with their fixed wing aircraft and come in. And then they also have the ability to extricate a patient with the pulley system in a rescue basket, which none of the other medevacs have. So kind of along with the Coast Guard lines is they have similar capability for that issue. So if there ever is an incident in the water and the Coast Guard can't get to it, MedFlight One is an option for that as well. And all of their staff are trained on the usage for that. They don't have to pick up anybody special. Over the past 4 years, we accounted for 2.15% of their total calls with 53 missions, and that was a combination of patient flyouts and search and rescue and law enforcement assistance. Any questions on MedFlight?
Those numbers were from how many years?
For the past 4. They had, last summer, they had some trouble with their pilots, so they weren't able to staff 24/7. So that's why it was a decline then, but now they're back up and
What
running.
line is this under?
This is on page 27. This is, at the bottom of the page, this is the contribution to MedFlight One. This is an item that you all have not funded in years past, and because we were under the assumption, I think, that there was reimbursement, but as Matt has stated, they don't charge for their services. Correct, Matt?
No.
Yeah.
See, I always thought they charged.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I think that's why the board never considered funding it. But now that we know the truth, the whole story, maybe, maybe or maybe not, your
So
interpretation
it's
changes.
only 1,200. I mean,
It's only 1,200, yeah. Now, that's gone up from the previous requests, but that's what it is this year.
So where do they receive most of their funding? Through the state?
It's, they have a budget set by the state and the state police funds, and then the remaining budget is all from Chesterfield County. That's why the request came from Chesterfield County.
Yeah.
But there is no, you call them, are they obligated to come?
Right now, we can't direct request a helicopter anymore. It's pretty much the closest unit available. And the closest helicopter to us that comes all the time is West Point, and the second helicopter is Hanover. And right now, MedFlight One would be third. So if both of those two helicopters aren't available, then MedFlight will come. And then after that is Nightingale out of Norfolk. The only time we can actually particularly request them is a search and rescue, or if it's an active public safety personnel injured while at a scene.
Okay.
Any other questions on med flight? I mean, you all don't have to decide now. You can think about it. You want to go into
Oh,
your,
he's finished?
he's finished with the med flight. He's got his regular, his paid rescue services. Yeah. Yeah. Matt's never finished.
So I've got our three accounts. So for 2022, we had another busy year, 2,261 calls for service. Average response time was 9 minutes and 15 seconds. This is the third out of the past 4 years that we are consecutively over 2,000 calls, which is a lot for our little county. Out of those calls, 1,182 were non-transports, 1,079 were transports to the hospital. We had 739 ALS calls with 1,033 BLS calls, and then 489 were patient assist, standbys, or calls where we were called out and then canceled en route. Busiest area is Kilmarnock Station. Right now, they have the most at just under 1,000 calls. For our revenue recovery, we had another pretty strong year at $433,646.34. So that's a heavy increase compared to years past. It's just a combination because 2 years ago, we raised the billing rate for the revenue recovery, and right now, still with everything dealing with COVID, the insurances have been paying rather quickly and paying close to the full amount. So for right now, our year-to-date total for July through January is at $269,525.91. So we're pretty much on track as far as call volume and receivables to do similar by the end of this fiscal year as well. So our revenue recovery has been pretty good, and we're receiving, I want to say it's 68% of the amount total billed. And so we don't do soft billing, so we don't have any means to go after the remaining funds right now. So that's that. Is there any questions on revenue recovery? So for the overall budget, a lot of the expenses, the increase in expenses for this year is just the increased cost in everything. Our medical supplies have skyrocketed. The increased calls lead to increased use of medical supplies, so we're burning through a lot more product quicker. Right now, we're looking at a 20% average increase of all items just compared to the heavy increases we saw last year. So that's been really a tough expense. Kind of my main goal for this coming fiscal year is just recruitment and retention. That's been kind of my primary focus next to keeping the trucks in service on the road. So for the biggest reflection in the budget you'll notice is the overtime. Year to date, we're averaging 310.5 hours of overtime per month at an average expense of $12,000 per month. So for that, right now we're at 2,174.5 hours already. So it's been busy. A lot of that comes from additional shifts. So, and that's been heavily increased too. So we have our EMS agreement that lists out our required covered hours by us. But since then, we've been doing a lot more. So for 2020 was 105 additional shifts. 2021 was 149. 2022 went to 228. So there's been a heavy increase over the past couple of years for that.
How does your paid staff, you know, your full-time staff, everybody, compare with the overtime going up? I mean, you got more people, do you have more people, I guess, is one question.
But we're still at 12 right now.
You're still at 12?
Yeah.
We budgeted for
Yeah.
14 for the last 5 years.
Just with kind of transition and stuff, we always, by the time I get to this stage, we always end up at 12.
12, yeah.
So if you break it down and calculate just our planned contracted hours, it would take 18 full-time staff to fill that position, and we've been doing it with 12. So they're working a lot of hours. That's why you see a lot of overtime. I have plenty of people that do 80 hours a week easily.
Wow.
For 2022, it was 421 shifts of overtime. Out of the overtime shifts, 163 were unscheduled coverage needs by the volunteers, which is 39% of our overtime costs. The rest of it is injury time, sick time, stuff like that, where people call out and we have to call in, and we have to call people in. So usually anything over 48 hours, we can get a part-timer to come in. But typically, anything 24 hours notice or less is automatically on the full-time staff. Part-time, we do have 19 part-timers currently. They are covering an average of 1,119 shifts a month, averaging us $27,328.50 a month. So that's pretty much right on track with previous years as well.
And all of those part-timers are full-timers somewhere else.
Yep.
You know, so.
And that reflects too in they get called into mandatory shifts at their full-time job, like tonight. That person who was scheduled to work tonight had less than 4 hours notice. So then he had to call out of us, so then we have to call somebody else in. So it just kind of trickles down, and then most of the time when we call people back, they're calling out of other places on top of it. So one of the next biggest item is the salary increases. I spent a lot of time on this, so I didn't get much feedback on my request that I sent out to the other areas. So what I did was screenshot job postings from online, and they're in the MedFlight packet. So you can kind of see where everybody is. A lot of people not only are trying to get people with higher pay, but they're also pushing the higher benefits and a better benefits package. So that's pretty much, a lot of people are actually going to places for the benefits, either improved retirement or more annual leave, stuff like that. Because we're pretty much in line. We're a lot lower now on our current pay scale compared to the other localities. So which is why for fiscal year '24, I just kind of averaged what everybody else was doing. I broke it down to $19 an hour, $21 an hour for advanced EMT, and then our EMT intermediate at 23 and paramedic at 25. So the first three level us with everybody at least at now. They all are projecting increases for next fiscal cycle. I just don't know what they're gonna pitch. The paramedic pay, that's the most difficult position to fill. So I went to $2 more per hour than, the average is 23 right now, and we're at 22.55. And a lot of people are projected to push that forward. So that's why I settled at 25. So what I did with the pay scale is I came up with a COLA. So I took our current pay scale based on the hours that the employee or the years that the employee currently has with us, and adjusted it based on if they were above that amount or below that amount. And then I took that, and since the consumer price index was at 6.4%. Everybody kind of complained about the same issues that they were having. Groceries are higher, everything's costing them higher. Fuel between fuel, and a lot of people travel a long distance. I ended up landing at 7%. So that's pretty much what the average is looking at to be around. It says, so that's how I landed on that number. This is kind of a lot more complex than I've done in the past. Is there any questions on that?
You exceeded your time.
I got 2 accounts left.
I do, so what is our pay scale? What do we pay for a EMTA? Is that,
Currently, right now, we're at 1925.
we're at 1925?
Yes.
How about EMT 1 or I?
Intermediate is a ALS position at 2090.
And then I guess the paramedic would be the next one.
2255,
Okay.
and then regular EMT is at 1815 currently.
You mentioned benefits, our staff gets paid time and sick leave, correct?
Yeah, the biggest thing now is we're the only county that doesn't offer the hazardous duty supplement to VRS. So what I've been trying to work on is getting that accomplished. So the first step is we have to have an accruity study. So that's the initial phase, and then once that is in place, we'll kind of have an idea of what it'll do for us and how much it'll increase. It'll increase the retirement funding as well.
We're going to have that study done.
Is that just for EMS or is that across the board or how does that work?
Right now, the law enforcement side already has it,
Okay.
but we don't have that right
Yeah.
now.
So
we're
how does
on
it,
regular
could you explain a
VRS.
little bit about detail about what it means or how does it work?
So the hazardous duty supplement is you have, is a 1.8, you can pick your level, either 1.7 or 1.85% supplement, and then it gives you the 50-20 retirement, so at age 50 or 20 years in the system.
Yeah. Without a reduced benefit, where normally it would be 25 years.
Okay.
So that's 1.8% of their annual income?
No, that's the
That's-
VRS percentage that
Or-
is,
yeah, it's all
Okay.
That's
retirement.
above and beyond what the normal VRS, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
yes.
Oh,
And is that paid by the employee or the employer or both?
It's a mix, the same as it
Yeah.
is now.
Okay.
And the study that Matt has referred to is only a few $1,000s, and we're going to have that done. And we'll bring those results back to you to make a decision at a future meeting.
Yeah, right now, we're the only municipality in the area that doesn't offer that. That's been a big selling point for people,
We have to offer
especially
that.
with the rate of injuries that go on after retirement. So a lot of people will take that 20 years and go do something else. So, and everything, it ends at Social Security age too. You automatically stop it.
probably the, you said Social Security, that's full Social Security age though, probably more likely, not 62, is it 62?
65?
65, probably full, yeah.
Matt, due to time constraints, the rest of your departments are just basic increases due to inflationary
Mostly
issues.
maintenance service contracts, and that's pretty much it. I think the
Yeah.
only thing else is, Mr. Palin had a question on the public access AEDs.
Hmm.
That's just a kind of a start for us, the 1,000 I listed. The rest of the funding will come from the Virginia Quality of Life. So we have funding available, so I've talked to them about requesting just 2,000 a year until the funding runs out, and that'll help us. We have over 30 units out in the field that we inspect twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall. And then the batteries and the pads will go bad, so we swap those out, and it's fairly expensive to do so. It's about $350 a unit when we do have stuff that expires. For the most part, the pads are 5 years. The batteries will typically last 2. So that's what that funding is for. Right now, that's kind of been mixed all throughout the budget, really, to keep those in service and up to date. So this is actually just making an actual line for it since the cost will be so much. And we do have that additional funding support now.
Matt, yesterday, Damar Hamlin for the Buffalo Bills, who was the defensive player that died on the field, he met with Congress, and they passed a bipartisan legislative grant that would supply the schools with these AEDs and also include the training and then the maintenance of them. And I think it only applies to schools, but you being the great grant writer you are, maybe you could join with them and we could take part in that grant.
I usually get a local grant to at least replace 2 units, because majority of the ones in service are from 2004. They're about a little over 950 apiece. So what I've been doing is just taking some smaller grants and updating two per year.
Okay.
So I know the school just got a grant to get 2 additional AEDs that they've put next to the gym in the middle school and high school. So those have 2, and then the primary school has the one in the office.
All right.
And you said there were 22 deployed?
No, it's 33, I believe.
33, you said?
Yes.
And the majority of those are deployed on the ambulances, or?
No, it's in different
You
buildings,
said, mentioned something about public
churches.
access. so-
Yeah, there are
Yeah.
different sites.
Schools, the patrol vehicles. They're just kind of mixed throughout.
Some churches have them.
All right.
Do we have one
Anything
in
else?
this room?
There's one right outside in the hallway.
Okay.
All right, gentlemen, including the, and look, let me say this, you've been doing an excellent job.
Okay.
Don't you go nowhere. All right, so, gentlemen, concerning his budget, so what's your favorite, including the med flight? What's your pleasure?
Don't really have an issue.
Me either. I don't. All right, yes, no issues.
I don't really understand the med flight thing. I'm okay with funding them, but I'm not sure why we're funding the third seat and we're not funding
Yeah.
the first 2. I'm not sure I understand that, but
Yeah.
I'll go on the recommendation if we need those.
I think since they primarily are, for state police, that's where it comes from their budget. I think the helicopter's capable, so that's kind of where the additional services came from.
Well, the first and second call do bill for services, correct?
Yeah, it's a lot.
They do
Yeah.
bill, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's an average of 35,000 a flight.
yeah. And the third call does not bill.
How many of this med flight did we use last year?
Did you say how many do we do a year?
How many last year? Do we know?
I can't
You-
remember. I
I
know
was just looking at it.
we do mostly about 2 a week.
From med flight,
Not for med flight, it's usually like evac.
the other
What-
ones, but how many have we, do you have any idea how many we've actually used from this?
Well, he said earlier that over the last 4 years, we've had 53 missions from MedFlight, correct?
I was thinking 2, yeah, something like that, 2
And,
It was
and,
53 missions.
yeah, 53 over 4 years, and air service was only 2.4% of their entire services, correct?
Yeah, 2.15.
Okay.
So, I mean, it does get some use, it's not like we're paying for nothing.
I think before the pilot shortage, we got them, I want to say it was 12 times out of all the flights. So they come over pretty frequent.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you very much. All right. We got a virtual one come up. Can you give them a message when they come up that they have to wait a little while longer?
No, that's on them. They can wait. I mean, they're aware of that.
All right. All right, Mr. Cantor?
I mean, it says time approximate. Tuesday night, we ran ahead of
Yeah.
schedule, so,
We're gonna blame Sheriff McClaney.
Good evening, guys.
Good evening.
I wanted to come tonight to speak, not so much because our budget pretty much stayed on track with what it was last year, no capital improvement request. But I did submit the letter requesting a couple of additional positions or from our staff's perspective. I believe you all had a copy of that. Hopefully you've read it. And then last budget presentation meeting, there were some questions about, or some comments about a part-time person or a full-time person split between two positions. And I kind of wanted to give a little bit of insight on what that would involve. So first of all, I'd like to formally invite any and all of you to come ride with us as inspectors out in the field and come see what we do and what it involves. You mentioned, Mr. Smith, you mentioned safe and secure a little bit ago about our community. Building inspectors, building official, we're dubbed through some communities as first preventers, not first responders, because that's what they do. But if we do our job right, nobody ever knows about it, and nobody ever hears about it because the house doesn't burn down, the people don't get hurt, and things of that nature. So what we do for the community is often overlooked and often underappreciated, but it does play a vital role in our community being safe and secure and having houses and structures that will hold up to storms, floods, hurricanes, and just general injury. We've had a number of fires here recently that are electrical in nature. A lot of these systems, I've been thinking about it, are somewhere in the 40, 50-year-old range, and there's a lot of homes down here in that range. The codes have changed, and if we don't enforce the current codes and do a good, diligent job with our inspections and making sure we're thorough, making sure we're training our contractors and educating the public, more accidents than necessary would happen. So just wanted to bring that up. I have numbers in that letter, again, about how many inspections we're doing a day, how many stops, what the averages are, and that's all based on numbers that we pulled out of doing route optimization to try to be as efficient as we can. And I've got a stack about 5 inches thick in my office if you ever want to look at any of those. So that's kind of what I wanted to speak to a little bit. A building inspector, just to be a one-trade building inspector, you're required to pass a national exam, take the core module as well as the specific module for residential, electrical, plumbing, et cetera. Takes most inspectors a couple of months just to get that first one under their belt. We're trying to get Mr. Dawson up to a combination inspector, which is 4 certifications. So far, we've gotten him through 2 of them, and we're making good progress. But because of our heavy workload, not being able to spend time studying, not being able to get our heads in the code books, we really are not being as successful as we want to be doing our job as well as we want to be doing it. So kind of wanted to just come and speak to that a little bit and answer any questions you all might have so far as those numbers that I presented, or what the duties or responsibilities that we handle or cover are.
In the budget that's in front of us, do you have those additional positions in there?
I think Mr. Gill did have those listed.
Yeah, well, the letter that Jim is speaking of, I referenced in my presentation, and I asked you all to read it because it had those stats in there, but also because 3 of the 5 folks who signed that letter have prior working experience in local government and, shared a perspective from that side that we haven't had before. And they requested 4 new positions. One was a parks person, which we've got. One was a maintenance person, which we've got in the budget. And then they also requested another building inspector and a codes enforcement position. And that's where I deviated from that request and said, well, we've got 1 vacant position in our planning and land use department that maybe that person could be split between those 2. But I'll tell you, since that presentation on March the 9th, and Jim doesn't know what I'm about to say, I've changed my mind on that. And I think that instead of that split position, I think we need the 2 full positions. And in the next round of the next budget that you see on April 13th will be reflected. We'll show 2 full positions instead of that 1 split. And, part of the reasoning is there is the need with the workload that we have now. And, another consideration is one additional new position that Jim hasn't referred to was the new prosecutor position in the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, which we found out on Tuesday night was in fact not a full-time position, but a part-time position. So the fringe benefits that we would save from that position, I think, can carry forward over to this, this full-time position. So in the next budget that you see, I am gonna put that in as two full positions.
Gentlemen, what do you feel? What's your pleasure?
I'm in favor. I like the growth that we have in this county. It's smart growth, and if the hiring will take out some red tape and make things flow easier, I'm all in favor of it.
Okay, all right.
What would you say the average inspection time is now from someone calling in an inspection until it actually being completed?
I would say we're probably running about 80% right now, getting to them on the next business day if they call in by 2:30. We set our cutoff time at 2:30, so that we can try to start planning out and scheduling for the next day. Realistically, I'd say 15–20% of the time for the last several months, we've had to roll over multiple inspections to a second day. So as we roll inspections over, we get the next day's workload, it just snowballs. When I can, I definitely get out of the office and go run inspections. A lot of times I'll go over on the other side of the Caratoman, because just one stop over there can take an hour's time, just to drive there, do the inspection, and come back. So if Brett's concentrating on down toward Kilmarnock, Irvington, Whitestone, down that area, I can run around there and get a couple of those in 2 or 3 hours and still get back here and get some office work done. But oftentimes, he can't still cover everything he has down that direction. So it does cause delays. Industry will be very forward in telling you that concrete's a big issue these days. And if we miss a footing or a foundation inspection and have to roll it over a day, that can delay them weeks while they get back on schedule for another load of concrete. So there's some snowball effect to us not being able to get to people that it's felt every day by the contractors.
And one thing that, people may not realize is they run that route optimization thing on MapQuest, I think, every day. It gives them the most efficient way to hit all the stops. I mean, they have like 4 hours or plus of drive time every day.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was gonna say, I'll call it the opportunity to meet Mr. Dawson at a site during the summer, I think a couple times. And he showed me that thing, the dots on it and all that. And I'm sitting there thinking, I said, well, time you put on your driving time and all that, you talking like 3 hours, 3 and 4 hours, just driving back and forth, especially on this end of the county to that end of the county. And you got 5 or 6 stops, somebody's gonna get left out.
The daily average for the whole route is right at just over 3 hours. 3 hours and 8 minutes a day is what we're averaging.
Yeah.
Just drive time. That's not stopping at traffic lights. That's not, waiting on anything, stopping to get a cup of coffee, anything like that. That's just drive time.
That's a good tool, but it's a lot of time behind the windshield that you're not expecting. So if you got another inspector, then you just split that up.
It would definitely make life better.
Do you have all the tools or software or things you need, or are there other options or implementations that could enhance your job?
We are very close. We're in hopefully the final round of testing before we launch Camino, which is our new permit software application that was approved last year. It's taken us this long to build it. So we're doing the last round the next 2 weeks, and then we're going to invite some industry to do some testing, and then we're hopefully going to start rolling that out. As we transition from the old system to the new system, we're going to have to work through the old system to finish out those old permits, but there's going to be a date somewhere in the future where we say, okay, from here on out, you have to use the new system so that we can transition into the new. Once we get there, we should have the ability with our tablets that we received last year to have our inspection load first thing in the morning already loaded on the computer. That alone is going to save us an hour every morning. With that ability, we may be able to leave from the house and start doing inspections right off instead of coming into the office, and so we can try to maximize and be as efficient as we can there. That should be a big help. Other software that I'm getting ready to bring on board is an electronic plan review software, so that we can take all these documents in, review them online, stamp them, approve them. It'll all be digital. And then some structural calculation software That's primarily for me to be able to help some of these contractors not have to go to an engineer. But I'll be able to run some of the more basic load calcs for them instead of having them go to a couple $1,000.
With that software, will that allow applicants to apply online or
Yes.
and pay online the fees or
Yeah,
whatever?
everything, once we get it up and running, everything will be online. We've talking with Glenn, we're gonna get a computer set up in the hallway where the old Coke machine is, so that if we do have customers that come in that are struggling with the new system, we can help teach them how to use it and be able to still get them through the system. But they'll be able to apply, upload their documents, upload their licenses, pay their fees. As we go through the permit approval process, there's actually a built-in function to communicate directly with the applicant, so that we can send them a message right out of the system, and it'll come back through the system, so everything's documented and all in one place.
Awesome. Thank you for your effort on bringing innovation to the system. I know it's a heavy lift to implement these things, and,
It's
but
been a group effort.
it'll be a good progress for our county and for your department. Any other questions or comments, gentlemen?
Yeah, I gotta, make sure I'm clear. So, Mr. Gill, couple weeks, we're gonna see the real numbers.
Yes, well, after you have made revisions from Tuesday night's budget work session and tonight's budget work session, I'll take all that in and revise the numbers, but I'm also going to be adding that one full-time position under building inspections for the additional inspector. And I'll remove the fringes from the Commonwealth Attorney's position, because that's part-time and not full-time.
Yeah, I guess where I was going with this right here, so we don't see the real numbers now.
Right.
Even though
Yeah. Yeah. So you
I
just-
think everybody thinks that the position is necessary, but we just don't see the numbers.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
Right. So, without seeing the numbers, so we don't.
Yeah,
we
I'm
good
okay
it?
with what
yeah,
you
just
Yeah, we
wait.
good with it?
Oh,
All right,
yeah.
we're good. Thank you, sir.
All right,
All right.
thank you.
All right.
Feel free to ride along.
All right. It's Breeden River Bark. Am I right?
Good evening,
Good
Brendan
evening.
Rubenbark. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the Health District. I've got a very pregnant wife at home, so I'll get us back on track. Our budget request from this year is about $5,000 more than last year, even though we're actually at level funding from our cooperative budget standpoint, and that's because we're in the last year of the phased increase in our cooperative share match, as mandated by the General Assembly in 2021. So there was a 3-year shift in responsibility from the state to our localities, and fiscal year '24 will be the last of those increases. So that's why that little bit of an increase is reflected in this year's request.
Okay. Any questions, gents?
I do have one thing.
Unfunded mandate.
What's that?
Unfunded mandate.
The health
Count on it,
department,
right?
the health department has received about $30,000 in grant money. They want to make some safety and functional upgrades to the building. The county owns the building, but I have no problem with them using that money to do that. But I'd like to get the board to formally make a motion to have, that's okay for them to do that.
All right. Word the motion, we will accept that wording and then vote on it.
Yeah. To allow the health department to use the grant money they've received for the safety and functional upgrades to the health department.
I make that as a motion, gentlemen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote.
All right, and we'll get caught up on the signatures.
Thank you all. Good evening.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I like that one, all right.
Now, I think we've got 2 online.
Yes. Mrs. Good and
Ken
Paul.
Mr. Goode, I think is how you pronounce it.
Mr. Good.
Tinsley, yeah, Mr. Gold, all right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, and this is Ken Pollock.
Okay.
okay, all right.
Right, so thank you very much, first of all, for letting us attend virtually. Very convenient for us over here on the Middle Peninsula. I am Tinsley Goad. I'm the CFO at Bay Aging, and I will speak about our aging services, and then I'll turn it over to Ken Pollock to talk about transit. First of all, I'd like to recognize and thank our board members from Lancaster, our board chair, Mr. Jimmy Carter, and our board secretary, Ms. Vera Lee. For fiscal 2024, we are requesting a 3% increase in funding for our aging services over the 2023 levels. And this is to help us mitigate the rising costs of labor and the general delivery of our services, the increasing costs there. The programs benefiting from local funding include Meals on Wheels, home care hours, information and education, housing, and other services to help citizens of all ages live independently in their communities. Our request of $16,235 for aging services, of course, does not stand on its own, but rather enables Bay Aging to draw down much larger state and federal resources for these programs. The leveraging aspect helps us to serve more than 3,000 county residents, and that was our number from last year that received our aging services. And I'll also note that Bay Aging paid more than $21,000 in real estate taxes and nearly $24,000 in utility charges to the county and to the town of Kilmarnock in the last fiscal year. And this is due to our senior apartments and our new workforce housing development just outside of Kilmarnock. We appreciate your continued support. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Okay, any questions? No questions?
All right, well, thank you very much, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Pollock.
Okay.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm Ken Pollock. I'm the Transit Director for Bay Transit. A brief update on what we're doing in on the transit side. First of all, I'd like to thank you for 24 years of supporting Bay Transit. We started in Lancaster in December of 1998, so we've been around a while. We're pleased to see that ridership is starting to return to pre-COVID levels. Our ridership last year was 11,144, compared to our last full year in FY19 pre-COVID of 12,501, which is only a difference of 1,357. So we're creeping back up to our pre-COVID levels. COVID really hit public transportation hard all over the country, and so we're starting to make a comeback. We have a new Freedom program that offers rides to seniors and people with disabilities to destinations outside of the Bay Transit service area. Typically, this is people that need to get to the VA hospital or other specialized medical services in Richmond or Hampton. It's a program that's federally funded, and it does not cost the county anything additional to what you support for our public transit. And we did 468 rides for Lancaster residents last year for that. A couple of quick items of interest. We need drivers for the Triangle Trolley. We've been working with Whitestone, Kilmarnock, and Irvington, along with the several local businesses to secure the funding to run the trolley, but we desperately need drivers or we're not going to be able to run it this year. Obviously, without drivers, it's not going to operate. So we're looking for school bus drivers and CDL drivers with a passenger endorsement. We pay $17 an hour, and the trolley will run on weekends from Memorial Day to Labor Day. So please, if you know anyone that might be interested, have them contact us or go online to baytransit.org to get an application. We're also doing some innovative transportation in Gloucester that I think may be of interest to the county, especially Kilmarnock. It's an Uber-like service called microtransit that uses smartphone technology to provide rides around Gloucester Courthouse. So if you're familiar with how Uber works, you use your smartphone and you request a ride, and then the ride gets put into the queue, and usually your rider is the driver's there in 10 or 15 minutes. We're doing the same thing in Gloucester Courthouse for public transportation. It's become very popular. We had to expand from 1 bus to 3 buses to do it. Our pickup times are less than 15 minutes. And this is one of the first projects in rural Virginia that's doing this. And we think Kilmarnock might be a good place to bring this in the future. So I'd love to share some more with you about that down the road. Also, we are getting ready to host the third annual Art and Transit Competition. We're having our reception on May 19th at the RAL Center in town from 5 to 7. Most of you may have seen the artwork that's on a couple of the buses that are around Lancaster County. We'll have a new one in May when we have a new winner. Please come join us at the reception. The sponsorship proceeds help support a partnership with the Rappahannock Community College to provide a $2,000 scholarship to a Bay Transit frontline staff person. And then any additional funds are put into our New Freedom program to help us provide as many New Freedom rides as possible. We are requesting a 3% increase this year, and this is due to volatile fuel and maintenance costs, as well as the increased labor costs to stay competitive in the market. And that's my report. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
I got two
All right.
questions, both of them transit. So on the service that you started in Gloucester, if we did that in the town of Kilmarnock, that would be for the corporation limits of Kilmarnock?
We can design it for whatever you would want it to do. Typically, the idea is that it's running short trips and it's hitting apartment complexes, nearby housing, senior apartments, and it would be going to jobs and health and retail in town.
Okay, okay.
But we would develop a zone based on density and where the demand is for people to go and work with, we have consultants that have helped us develop that in Gloucester, so that's what we would do in Kilmarnock as well.
Okay, all right.
We use smaller vehicles that are much more economical and efficient. And so we're finding the cost per hour to be significantly less for this type of service than for the traditional service that we provide in Lancaster, which is to go to your door and pick you up in a bit larger vehicle. So it's also more efficient.
Yeah, okay, so, the next part of that, if there were, another bus needed in Lancaster, for whatever reason, you know, not specifically this new project, but if it was one needed to be added over in this area, does the county have any responsibility in that? Financial responsibility?
Yes. The county is currently funding one bus 12 hours a day and one bus 6 hours a day. And so that's where the numbers come from. So the first recommendation would be to expand the bus that's running 6 hours a day to run 12. And that would be approximately $22,000 more. That's ballpark. And then if we were to do something similar to Gloucester, that would require some additional funding as well. I don't know what that would be at this point, but if there was interest in doing that and maybe partnering with the town to help support that as well, then we could come to you with a proposal on this microtransit service that we're talking about.
Okay, that would be good, I think.
Yeah, I think the town should come to the table too on that. But I mean, if you all wanted to up that second bus from 6 hours to 12 hours, that's probably more your decision than a town decision.
Yeah. All right.
All right, gentlemen.
And I can get you that exact cost tomorrow, Mr. Gill,
All right, thank you.
for your consideration.
All right. On what's been presented to us by Bay Agent and Bay Transit, what's your pleasure?
I'm good with it.
All right, good, we're good. All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much. Thanks again.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Next, we have Legal Aid Works. All right, Ms. Matt, would you pronounce your last name for me? Klockner, that's what I started to say, but I wasn't sure. All right, thank you.
In my own immediate family, we have 3 different ways to pronounce it.
Can we hear those? We don't need to hear those.
Good evening. I'm Ann Klockner, Executive Director at Legal Aid Works, and we've been serving your Lancaster County constituents since 1979. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. We are asking to be returned to the previous funding of $5,600. In fiscal year 2019, you decided to stop your support of our organization. Our one attorney office in Tappahannock covers 7 counties, including Lancaster. We represent low-income people who need an attorney in civil legal matters. We represent victims of domestic violence who need civil protective orders. We help people obtain unemployment benefits, and we help resolve landlord-tenant and foreclosure matters. We are the only agency providing this service. In your county, there are 1,561 eligible low-income persons who would qualify for our services. As an outside agency, we behave like an inside agency by helping county governments in 3 important ways. We take the strain off your social services safety net by lifting clients out of poverty with enforceable court orders of child and spousal support that the clients would not otherwise have won without our legal intervention. We help the county court system run efficiently by helping those who can't afford an attorney, because people who represent themselves slow the system down considerably. And we assist local law enforcement by securing enforceable civil protective orders for domestic violence survivors. We leverage your financial support to provide legal services that benefit your citizens. In the last fiscal year, 56 of your residents were assisted by our attorney, including several critical domestic violence cases. In the last fiscal year, our 3 offices of our agency obtained over $1,400,000 for our clients throughout the 17 counties that we serve. You have defunded us, and of course you have the right to make that choice. When you decide to fund us, you're supporting not just our agency, but your police force, your court system, and your social services agency. Your low-income constituents rely on us, and Lancaster County support that we've received in the past made this community safer and more stable for everyone, not just our low-income clients. Fiscally, we run a tight and responsible ship. In deciding which nonprofits you should support, I suggest that any county should have a vested interest in collaborating with any nonprofit that can show that it's well-run and serves the county's constituents. If counties only give to the ones that are in desperate financial straits instead of those that are prudent and save against hard times, that might make sense, but I would argue that the nonprofits that do the most good and are the best run and are the most financially stable are the wisest investment. We've been advised by many grantors that they look to support nonprofits who follow best fiscal practices. As in your personal and business lives, our nonprofit sets aside an extremely modest reserve to make sure that we could exist for 3 months in case of a catastrophic loss in funding. I would be happy to email you a white paper on the subject published by the Urban Institute, which argues that it is fiscal malfeasance for a nonprofit to run with no policy of setting aside cash reserves. We follow that advice, and we're able to weather difficulties and funding peaks and valleys as a result. We were once told here in this room that we are well off. And to suggest that we are well off and don't need support is just inaccurate. We need your support, and we'd be grateful for it. I would like you to consider renewing your support of our agency so that you when you say the Pledge of Allegiance, you really pledge for justice for all. I have brochures with me. I always bring them with me so that you can provide good constituent services by referring any people who might need our services to our office. Thank you.
Okay. You make a good presentation. You make a good appeal.
I just think you make us feel guilty.
She did a good job.
I'm going to leave that up to you.
I feel scorned.
I think $100 for legal advice per constituent is the best money, legal advice money has ever bought.
We give a lot of value for our money.
Mayor,
Sir,
I was just looking at your history of your funds raised, and it took a dramatic drop in 2018. Was that, any comment on that? I was just noticing that and looking at it here.
there were several factors involved in that during 2018. We had one really big grant that was just not continued.
Okay.
So we've since tried to kind of patch together other funding sources to fill that gap.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
How long has it been since we funded you?
Since, I think it was fiscal 2019, so ending fiscal, so until June of 2019.
Yeah, that's, yeah, I just pulled up the FY18 approved budget, and it was funded in FY18.
Correct.
So you noted that you did 56 cases for Lancaster. Was that the number requested, or that's the number that you actually
Oh,
accepted?
we turn away people all the time, unfortunately. We have one attorney who's really, really good at being 2 places at once, but 3 or 4 places it starts breaking down. So, for example, if there's a hearing at 10 o'clock in Lancaster, it's not going to get to the Westmoreland 11:30. It's just not going to happen. So we turn away people all the time. So the 56 people we were able to help is a fraction of the need in this community.
Are you, because of not being funded, is that a reason that maybe you're not making it to Lancaster? And
We try to serve all of the communities that are within our service region. We can't make decisions based on
funding from the
funding
appropriate
as
board?
much as we make it on the nature of the case and just pure logistics, like I said, about trying to be in King William and Northumberland at the same time just doesn't happen. So we're doing it mostly on logistics, but it does come into play, I would say, more in terms of how we do outreach. So we're more likely to be able to do a wills clinic or something like that in a county where we are supported. So we
Okay,
wouldn't do
My last question
that
is, are we
differently.
one of a few, or are we the only one in your area that is not funding?
You are absolutely the only one in our Tappahannock service area that is not funding us.
Okay, and I was not on the board in 2019.
I was trying to make him feel
You
bad.
were, and I,
We would really appreciate you coming back and supporting us.
All right, gents, what's your pleasure?
It's a great return on our dollar. I take it at 56, and we only spent 100, so I'm good.
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right, I'm good too. All right, thank you, ma'am. We're funding you again.
I really appreciate it.
Okay, all
Thank
right.
you very much. And if at any time you'd like to talk to us more about the kind of services, we'd be happy to talk to you.
All right. I spoke too early. I said, we're funding you again. We're agreeing that we're gonna vote to fund you. Yeah.
There's wheels
Yeah, yes,
within wheels, I get it.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Yako. Where's Yako? How you doing?
Good.
Good to see you again.
Yes. And my chauffeur tonight is Mr. Yackel.
I thought I recognized him, all right.
Well, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Ellen Yackel. I'm the Executive Director of the Haven Shelter and Services Incorporated. We are the domestic violence and sexual assault program that serves 5 counties, including Lancaster. And I feel compelled to tell you, since she just spoke, how dependent our clients are on legal aid. And I'm glad that you are willing to consider funding them again. But what I'm here tonight, I also have with me 2 folks who represent Lancaster County on our board of directors. Nina, if you'll stand up for me, she is one of our directors, and Janet Hemming is also our director and the vice chair of the board. And so they represent Lancaster County on our board. We are here tonight, first of all, to thank you for the support that we've been given that have helped us continue to provide services to individuals who've experienced sexual assault and domestic violence in Lancaster County for, I believe, over 30 years. As I shared in our letter of request, we assisted 40 Lancaster County residents in fiscal year 2022, and we are very much on target to surpass that number in the current fiscal year. And I will explain in a minute why we anticipate a significant increase in services to Lancaster County in the upcoming fiscal year. We are also here to ask for your continued support. While we hope that you support our work enough to continue level funding, we have asked for an increase of $400 to help offset a loss of $36,000, which I know doesn't sound like it's going to help much, but it really will. Programs like the Haven across the state of Virginia are all experiencing a 10% cut in federal funding that comes from the Victims of Crime Act. And we have requested a 10% increase from all of our government funders. We realize this won't be enough to cover the loss, but it will help us in many ways to fill that gap. Your support is important to our funders and those that we seek funding from. It provides leverage for state and federal funding in match funding when it's required, but it also supports our grant-seeking efforts because it shows our funders and grantors that you value the services that we provide to your constituents. And being able to tell our funding sources and grantors that the localities we serve have increased their contributions to help fill this gap will help us convince them to do likewise. It's important to our board members and it's important to staff. There are 5 Haven staff members who, after working 40 hours a week with people who are in crisis, rotate on-call duties weekly so that anytime, night or day, if someone from Lancaster County needs services, they have access to them. Sometimes that is taking individuals to Richmond for medical assistance because neither of the hospitals in our area has the staff or the equipment to do forensic exams. So individuals who have experienced sexual assault or choking must go to Richmond in order to have evidence collection. We also anticipate an increase to services in Lancaster County. We are very excited about our partnership with the Office of the Attorney General and law enforcement from Lancaster County as we begin the lethality assessment protocols, or LAP program in Lancaster County. The Attorney General's office has approved Lancaster law enforcement's application for the LAP program, and once all the training is done, the Lancaster County officers, when they are responding to a domestic violence situation, will be trained to assess the lethality of the situation that they're in and immediately connect a victim with a Haven advocate night or day if there's a high risk of serious injury or death. The LAP program originated in Maryland and has been proven to significantly reduce injuries and death in domestic violence victims. The availability of our on-call staff will be vital to making this program a success in your county. And it means a lot to those 5 individuals who take on-call responsibilities that you value their efforts and their work enough to support it. But most important, your support means the most to those who've experienced sexual assault and domestic violence, to know that you care about the trauma they've experienced and the support to address that trauma. I'm happy to answer any questions you have on behalf of the Havens Board of Directors and the staff and our Lancaster County residents that we serve. We thank you for your support and ask you to include our request in your 2024 budget.
Any questions, gentlemen? Comments? Okay, what's your pleasure?
It's modest, yeah, I mean, okay.
Okay, okay, thank you.
All right, thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Social Services, Mrs. Davenport. Good afternoon.
You have before me, before you, the budget that we have requested. There is an increase, and basically the increases are in the administration and operations, and that's for leave payouts and the filling of 3 positions, 2 full-time positions, and 1 part-time position. Also for COLA and merit increases and on-call pay, and coverage for the pass-through rate, and local funds to cover the month of June. The state fiscal year ends May 31st, and the county fiscal year does not end until June the 30th, and so we have a 30-day period in which we have to have funds to cover. Do you have any questions regarding my budget?
Any questions, gents?
I don't.
Okay, no, what's your pleasure? All right, I'm in favor, no problem.
fine.
Okay, all right, consensus here.
You got us back on track.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right. And thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ms. Hart?
Thank you. So we have a level funding request, and it's probably one of the most modest that's in your budget. It is all related to the operation and oversight of the 2 county buildings that we help steward for you, and that's the old clerk's office and the old jail buildings that are part of what we consider our museum campus across the street and within the Lancaster Courthouse Historic District. So again, it's a very modest level funding. And do you have questions?
I guess my question would be more directed at Don on like the roof of this building. I know we had repairs on, and they have an issue with the old jail that got struck by. Where are we on moving those repairs forward?
Oh, the
Yeah,
clerk's office
yeah,
corner.
the corner,
the
yeah.
roofing on
That has a temporary patch on it. We've got an RFP ready to go out, but it hasn't gone out,
Okay.
so.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen.
Karen, I am the representative from the board for the Historical Society, and I don't do much.
Well, please come over and visit us and find out about what we do.
What do you need me to do for you? It's just.
Well, continue being a good partner, and like when we have these major issues, like we have with the roof, and we do, present those to you. But we could come with lots of other funding requests in the future. But one of the major projects to let you know about that we are doing is the renovation of the house that's on the other side of the jail to turn that into our new history and genealogy research library to about double the size of what the facility that we already have. We came to this board at the beginning of the project, and those who sat in your seats at that time said maybe come back toward the end of the project, so you may hear from us. But of course, that went from a $350,000 budget to about a $700,000 budget over the last 5+ years that we've been fundraising. But we have raised over $600,000 toward that. So it is going to come to fruition, and we think that will bring even more people to the courthouse area. We try to give back to you as the county and support questions about history, research that you all need. We support the clerk's office in fielding a lot of the questions that they would normally get. Later on your agenda, there's some discussion about portraits, and I do have some information about those.
Okay.
And would like to say something at that point, whether
Okay.
it's proper in public comment or during that presentation, if you would allow me to
I would
do
say,
so.
since that's not a public hearing, do it during public input.
During public, okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that question. You must have read my mind.
Well, I only saw the agenda item about 15 minutes before I came over here, but I did pull together some information about that you may want to take a little time to consider before making a decision.
Okay, all right, any additional questions?
Thank you.
No, I'd
Okay.
just like to thank you also to comment on the books you'll be helping provide for the upcoming VACO, and just let me know when we can pick those up.
Sure, I may get with you, even if you can meet us at the storage facility down at Brookvale and help haul out those heavy boxes.
Sounds good.
Yeah, like I said, even though I'm the only full-time staff, I have a part-time assistant, and then we rely on volunteers. You know, we do want to not only help oversee our own campus, but like I said, we feel like we are caretakers of the whole district. And you may have noticed our name over the past few years has changed from, it's still incorporated as Mary Ball Washington Museum and Library, but we are publicly operating as the Lancaster, Virginia Historical Society, to let people know that we are really committed to everyone's history in this county, and not only on our campus, but we do a lot of outreach and programs on history from colonial all the way up into 20th century, and trying to involve a lot more voices and constituents in that, and it helps us from people thinking, oh, you're where Mary Ball lived. And so she's just one of the families that's important to our county story.
Okay, any additional questions, comments? All right, your feelings? Consensus?
Good.
All right, consensus, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mrs. Davis?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for having me. I want to thank you for your current support of our workforce board, and Mr. Gilhill, he represents y'all on our local elected official consortium, so thank you for him. So I just want to provide you with a couple updates for some of the things that we're really proud of. We just awarded a Go Virginia Talent Pipeline Initiative. That's a $250,000 initiative to help provide some situational analysis on education, if it meets the needs of the employers, the skill gaps between the employers and the employees, and then also to provide an asset map that provides all of the educational providers in the region. For the Northern Neck region, especially down here in Lancaster County, one of the industry we're focusing on is aquaculture. Throughout our whole region, which is the 16 jurisdictions, is manufacturing, and then in our Planning District 16, which is the Fredericksburg region, we're focusing on cybersecurity. This year, we've also worked with 13 businesses within Lancaster County. They've had different services provided, helping with recruitment, retention, job fairs, and consulting, and some educational things for our employers. We are also members of the Lancaster County, the Lancaster by the Bay Chamber of Commerce. Our business services representative is an active member with that agency, with that organization. Through self-reporting, we have some self-reporting mechanisms that let us capture some data, and we have found that we have 7 individuals from Lancaster County that we've helped place into employment from July of 22 until February of 23. We also have a Virginia Career Work Center located in Warsaw,
And from July through February, we've had 25 Lancaster County residents come through there. They've had the assistance provided through there is the unemployment insurance, job search, resume help, connection to training, and things of that nature. We also have a youth outreach individual. His sole goal is working with youth, especially in the school systems. We have been working with Lancaster County Public Schools. Actually, he will be at Lancaster Middle School tomorrow, helping with the career fair. There, we also have some virtual reality technology that we've been working with the students within the school. It has 23 different occupations in it, so it gives them that light touch career exploration. It's really, I've gone to a couple of those events and assisted jobs with that, and that's really neat to see the students interact with that. They just get it and go on. It's really neat to see them do that. With our Title I Adult Dislocated Worker and Youth Funding, we have trained 6 Lancaster County residents, 3 adults and 3 youth. They're from CDL, dental assistance, cybersecurity, and personal care aid, and the total for that training was $19,872. And Rappahannock Community College is our provider for the Northern Neck and Middle Peninsula. I want to thank you for your consideration, and do you have any questions?
I guess my question, and I think I asked this last year, what's the vehicle you all use to get this information out in the public that you even exist?
So before, our youth outreach person, he's brand new to our office. We hired him in September. He has done a really good job with social media. We've that's the biggest thing that we've been using is social media, and then us going out in the community to different chambers and different functions that we see in the community to try to get this out there.
How about this through the schools?
Yep, through the school systems. We're working with the school systems.
So you mentioned you trained 5 from Lancaster County. Is that
6.
is that a limit, or is that all that?
That's just what's come through that they have seen come through.
Okay, yeah, we need to get that number up.
Yeah, and that's why social media might be the vehicle, but I still think the schools might be a bit better.
And that was the reason for hiring the youth outreach person and putting them in, having that career exploration piece. And then if the students didn't have that, the capacity to pay for their training, that we could help assist with that.
So this position, this is a new position?
Yes,
Okay.
it's a new one. And it's one that we created because engaging with our youth has always been hard, and even prior to the pandemic, it was really hard, but even now, it's worse than ever. Trying to engage with the youth, trying to connect them to employment or an education, instead of going home and sitting and not knowing what to do or what the options are. So we're trying to figure out what some of the best ways is to get the resource information out there. So that was one of the, and he is a really great guy. He connects with the kids. He's amazing.
Good.
Sound like a good first step.
I heard you reference aquaculture briefly, and I hope that you maybe have touched base with the food bank up in Warsaw, because they're putting in an aquaculture facility, and maybe there's some interplay there that the two of you all could work together on. So
Okay.
they presented to us 2 days ago, and we're talking about that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
I appreciate that.
Okay. All right, do I have a consensus?
Yes.
All right, thank you, ma'am, we have
All
a
right.
consensus.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right, Mr. Gill, you got something else to handle here before we recess?
No, sir. Only thing I would say is, well, I'll do it after you recess. Go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, we're gonna recess until 7 PM. We're gonna move to public input session, and we're supposed to be making a presentation, but the ones we're gonna make a presentation to hasn't shown up yet. So we're gonna wait until they get here. All right, so for the public input session, you can talk for 3 minutes. At the end of 2 minutes, I'm gonna raise this, and you have 1 minute left. So please, whatever you gotta say, get right to the point and make your presentation. All right, so at this particular time, anybody wanna speak from the?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay, okay, good. State your name, district, or
My name
whatever.
is Tina Green. I'm going to share these with you because I'm going to make a reference to them. My name is Tina Green. I'm a full-time resident here in Lancaster County, and I live in what's known as the Dungeons Thicket community. It's a circle of one-lane road bordered by Tabbs Creek and Fleets Bay. We sadly lost one of our neighbors last fall. His name is Mike Cecil. His property is at 367 Pine Trail in Whitestone, and that property had really fallen into real disrepair long before his illness took his ability to maintain his property. Despite some kind neighbors' efforts, we could never keep up with helping to what became and continues to be a safety and health hazard to our community. Upon his death, his family members were not willing to take on the burden of the property, and so it's fallen into the hands of the bank, namely Atlantic Union. I'm here with another neighbor, Derwin Booker, as representatives of our community, because we're gravely concerned about what you see before you in the copies that I've shared with you. The pileup of trash and debris is posing risks to both human and animal safety. And doing some online research, what stands out to me are CDC and EPA warnings and references to the undeniable health risks in the presence of this type of unattended solid waste with regards to attracting rodents, fly, tick, mosquito populations, all concerns that we don't want to ignore. I want to point out that the Lancaster County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 54, addresses solid waste. And in Article 3, Section 5464, it says it will be unlawful for any person to accumulate or to dump on property owned, rented, leased, or controlled by such persons or any person any solid waste in such a manner that is a nuisance or which is injurious to the health or safety of the public. We feel like this is truly a health hazard for us. So another part of that section also says that in addition to penalties, whenever the Board of Supervisors deems it necessary, it may, after 30 days receiving written notice, have solid waste which is injurious to health of the public removed by its own agents or employees. And the cost of the removal thereof shall be chargeable and assessed against the owner of the property, which right now is Atlantic Union Bank. Mr. Booker has reached out to Mr. Gill, and Mr. Gill has not had an opportunity to reply to him. He did so on January 17th. What our hope is that the board will act quickly to exercise its right and its duty to aid us in maintaining a safe place to live. As the weather gets warmer, we're really concerned that it will just get worse with this pileup of garbage and just the debris on the property. So we are really hoping for some help from the county as far as that's concerned, specifically in regards to what the ordinances say. So I thank you for your time, and we hope to get a resolution from you all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right.
You want me to respond real quick?
Okay.
The bank is aware of the issue and the violation, and the stipulation where the county comes in and cleans the property up is only after a court order.
Oh.
So we need to go that next step. If the bank does not comply with the cleanup of the property, then the county attorney would get involved and a court date would be set. And then if the court, granted the order to have the county clean it up, we would do so.
So who has been in contact with the bank?
That would be me, ma'am.
Okay. And so, Mr. Farrell, can I follow up with you at a later time so we're not taking?
Yes, ma'am,
I appreciate that.
absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Public presentation?
There was somebody ahead of me, and I was trying to wait to see if they're coming up, but that's okay. I am here to ask whether or not I need to have rezoning done to build a homeless shelter in District 4. And this homeless shelter will be in 2 stages. The first stage will consist of a first and second floor. Then later on, at a later date after I've been opened, 2 more floors. Why do we need something so big? Well, let's start with this week only. This week, I know for a fact, there is 5 individuals that are homeless in Lancaster County. There is 4 families that are homeless in Lancaster County. There is 2 more families next week, if things don't change, are going to be homeless in Lancaster County. And this is just the ones I know of. This don't include the ones that's hiding behind doors or having to move out of the county, even though they want to stay in it. So, again, right now I am A2. Do I need to be rezoned to C1? What do I need to do to get this moving? It's up to you. Please let me know something right now, please.
Well,
Thank you, ma'am.
I think
You're demanding, aren't you?
I think it's been communicated to you that if you are a nonprofit, that you would not need the rezoning. If you are not a nonprofit, you will need the rezoning.
We're not nonprofit yet. We've been trying to become nonprofit, and unfortunately, because of a multitude of different things stopping, it hasn't happened yet. I have tried filing 8 times, and they keep telling me it's filed wrong, even if I pay somebody else to do it. I've only got so much money to keep filing and keep filing. So I was doing a little break to find out where I need to be right now with the land, because the land is empty. There's nothing on it.
If you're not a nonprofit, it will require the rezoning. That's an application you need to fill out. It's a $500 fee. It's a public hearing at both the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors at upcoming meetings.
Okay, so I'll be here tomorrow. Bill?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Where are the, I'm
Ma'am,
sorry,
Can you come back to the podium, please?
I just have a couple questions.
Okay.
So this is the first I've heard of a homeless
Okay.
shelter. Where are the homeless coming from? Are they going to be just from this county?
The homeless will not just be from this county. It will be also surrounding counties, because let's say you have a home just across the bridge. Okay, you're now in another county, but you're flooded out. There is no homeless shelters until you get to Chesapeake, Richmond, or all the way up there to Fredericksburg, as far as any kind of size. Now, if you're talking about a 1-room or a 2-room or put you up in a motel, well, maybe somebody can do that for you temporarily for 3 nights, most 3 weeks. But suppose you need longer than that to get back going. Where would you be?
Okay, thank you.
So you said, oh, wait a minute. All right, you've
I'm
been
sorry.
demanding, so let us ask some questions.
Well, I'm
All right.
trying to speak fast because you're not giving
All right.
much time.
All right, you had time. All right. Now, you mentioned 2 stories and then adding 2 more, it's 4-story building?
The other 2 stories would probably come like maybe 5 to 7 years down the road.
Okay, so how
Because
many?
we have to get the first part built first.
Right. How many people then are you looking at housing?
Well, the paper that I showed you, I drew that up myself because I can't even get an architect to talk to me.
Right.
I don't know what the problem is, why people don't want to talk to me and
Right.
help me with this. I don't know. But whatever it is, they just don't want to talk to me.
Right, right.
And so I drew this up based on the footage going back, and in the information there,
So
I had
how
told,
many people are you
based on
planning on?
this.
Mhm.
But, see, I found out after I put this in, that the rules had changed, and I have to shorten the length of it because it's got to be further away from the road. So that changes the figure of how many can be in there. So I don't know that figure until I know exactly what the square footage of the
What's an estimate?
space being from one to the other.
What's an estimate?
Excuse me?
What's an estimate number?
Estimate number. okay? I put it, it's right in your paperwork there. And
So 41 on the first floor, 182 on the second floor?
no,
Is that what I'm reading?
no. No,
Oh, I see that. So the total capacity is 130 people?
188 for one floor. And 130 for another floor. The first floor wouldn't have as many. The people actually staying in it would be 41 people, based on the drawing I gave you, which is bigger than what it will end up because of the law changing.
Right. And the reason I'm asking this question because I know you said you're gonna be doing it in stages, but if you get started, I'm looking for the long term. What's the
That's what I'm looking
capacity
for.
of it for the long term? Because
Uh-huh.
we start talking about approving or disapproving. What's the long term that we're talking about, the picture? And, okay, you look at that, how many now?
Well, stage 2 will have up to 693 people.
693, if it's this size, but like I said, the rules have changed. So it would probably be maybe closer to around 400 and something because of the shortening down of the building.
All right, about 400. And the funding for taking care of these people will be
Everybody,
everybody?
everybody. The
Including?
government, the people who's got buku bucks in their pocket and don't know what to do with it, I can help them spend it. It comes from yard sales, it comes from whatever source I can get my hands on. It comes from, going up to the food bank to get the grocery stuff. It comes from if I'm able to, and I can raise a little garden, well, let's pick it out of the garden and eat it.
All right,
Whatever,
all right. My next-
whatever we can do to get our hands on it, to get it going, keep going, and stuff like that, grant money
all right, my
from
next
several
que-
different, I know of several companies that's more than willing to help. There's also churches that's more than willing to help. There's a whole gang of people willing to help get it going, but they want to see something getting going before they'll do anything.
Right, right, don't blame
So
me.
that puts it all back in my pocket, which right now looks about like this.
All right. You're talking about 400 to 600 people, or a little less than 600, maybe 400 around there.
Between 400 or a little over based on having to narrow the building.
All right, this, in my thinking, this is more than Lancaster County and Middlesex County and Northumberland. So where are the rest of these people coming from?
Well, it's hard to tell because
You got a plan.
where are we starting at with the 2 floors? Obviously, it's not going to be nowhere near that amount. It'll be half of it, or a little less than half, because the first floor won't accommodate that many. I know right now that just Gloucester, which is not far away, they have a tent village with over 30 families living in it because they have nowhere to live. Now, if it's just next door there, where do you think it's going to keep trickling down to? They'll be over here too.
Well, Gloucester may welcome you. Okay, all right.
But right now, I know what's here based on what I personally know of, but I don't know about what else is out there that I don't know about of people. And so you take the surrounding counties and also the funding, see the resources where I'm wanting to help the people with, the resources is not coming from just Lancaster County. It's coming from every county around that intends on using the place. Every county. It shouldn't be burdened to one.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
You're more than
All right.
welcome.
All
Any
right.
other questions?
Any other questions? No, thank you. Mhm. Anyone else, public comment? You gonna come in too, in demand?
Hi there. Thank you for your time and leadership, supervisors. I am Catherine Bennett and live at 854 Pinkardsville Road in Lancaster, which is approximately 2 miles east of here on Route 3. At the corner of Route 3 and Pinkardsville Road are 2 parcels comprising an approximately 30-acre property that Lancaster County purchased about 9 years ago for $189,000. It was and still is planted in seasonal crops. For decades, beginning in 1927, this was the site of the Northern Neck Progressive Association's domestic, educational, industrial, and agricultural fair. Important people gathered there for one of the greatest annual fairs held in the Northern Neck, including hosting the only certified harness racing track in the area. This is very cool. We need to recognize this important site with a historic marker and, until developed, for whatever the county intends, make it available to the citizens as a park. It will be a positive place for our community and events supporting tourism, which bring positive things to our county. While we're talking about Pinkardsville and Route 3 is one of the most dangerous intersections in the county. There is a curve in one direction and a hill the other. Numerous people, including myself, have been seriously injured at that intersection, and no small number have died there. Until VDOT completes the 4-lane there, we need a flashing light and turn lanes each way from Route 3 onto Pinkardsville, where hundreds of vehicles travel daily. There is plenty of land around Lancaster Courthouse for the 4-lane to bypass it and help protect important historic buildings that are too close to the road, right here in the courthouse. While focused on Pinkardsville, I invite you to take a drive down our road, which is only about 2 miles long and worthy of being designated a historic district. Thank you.
Thank you.
For your interest.
All right, thank you.
Hang around for the VDOT comments, because I think they'll address your Route 3 and 605.
Oh, thank you.
Let me say this. A number of times when we have historic districts designations, someone from the community gets that going. We just, as government, don't get it. Let me say this. Someone from the community usually gets that going. Would you be interested in heading that up?
I would love to with your leadership, since you're our district supervisor. So may I work with you?
Go ahead, get started. Get started. All right. Yeah, thank you. All right.
She was looking for your blessing.
Okay, anyone else?
All right.
All right, if not, then. Online. Oh, anybody online? Public comments?
No one is raising their hands, so I would say no, sir.
All right, then public comment session is now closed. Okay, at this particular time, we would like to recognize our basketball team, and I have a resolution here. Young men and coaches, managers, if y'all don't mind coming and standing up over here. Okay, let me read the resolution, and we'll vote on it. A resolution adopted by the Lancaster County Board of Supervisors recognizing the 2023 state champions Lancaster High School boys basketball team. Whereas the 2023 Lancaster High School boys basketball team was the Northern Neck District regular season champions and tournament champions, the Region 1A tournament champions, and the Virginia High School League Class 1 state champions. And whereas the 2023 Lancaster High School boys basketball team finished with an unprecedented, undefeated season of 29 wins and 0 losses, and beat every opponent by double digits. And whereas the 2023 Lancaster High School boys basketball team was led by head coach Dwayne Penn, assistant coaches Dante Henderson, Troy Henderson, Eddie Hall, Javante Smith, and manager Mark Saunders, and ball boy Landon Smith, Penn. All right. Players: number 1, Tyrell Diggs, guard. Number 2, Antavion Tompkins, guard. Number 3, Jerrion Owens, guard. Number 4, Brandon Wade, forward. Number 5, Lamar Maddox, guard. Number 10, Tyson Henderson, guard. Number 11, Darius Smith, guard. Number 12, Davion Smith, guard. Number 21, Kevin Davis, center. Number 22, Sean Thomas, guard. Number 23, Jeremy Smith, guard. Number 24, Troy Henderson, guard. Number 25, Jacarius Morris, forward. Number 30, Taleo Walters, guard. Number 35, Xavion Owens, forward. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Lancaster County hereby recognizes the exemplary dedication and determination of and expresses its admiration to the 2023 Lancaster High School boys basketball team for the outstanding accomplishments obtained this season, accumulating as the Virginia High School League Class 1 state champions. And be it finally resolved that the copy of this resolution expresses the sense of the Board of Supervisors of Lancaster County on this matter be conveyed to the Lancaster County School Board, the Lancaster High School Athletic Director, and to be spread upon the meeting minutes of said Board of Supervisors. Gentlemen, you've heard the resolution. All in favor of adopting this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote. You mind helping me say yes?
Stay right there. Chairman's going to come down and present something to you.
Does it roll? Yeah. Thank you, sir.
It's always fun.
All right. B-Dot?
How y'all doing this evening?
Good.
Just like, I wish David was here, because I haven't seen the plans or anything, but the area has been surveyed at that intersection that she was talking about, and it's a smart scale project. I think it's gonna be like a center turn lane, they're gonna widen it and all, but like I said, I haven't seen the plan, so he could tell you all about it. And it's supposed to start in '25, but, you know, sometimes they get bumped up. We'll just see how the money's and all.
So it's been approved and it's in the queue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it possible to have a flashing light between now and when that happens, or does that usually not happen?
Like a traffic light?
I'm
I
not
mean,
sure.
like-
You mentioned a flashing safety light, caution light.
Yes, that would be good. Something to alert people because it's a hill one way and a curve the other.
It's bad, I know. Just a thought, just something to think about.
Anything like that, y'all would have to put a request in, and traffic engineering would do a study, and if it warrants it, they, you know, would look at it, but, you know, look, once again, I can't answer that, they, you know.
And that would probably take
would
us
be
into
2025.
2025. Yes,
Yeah.
I was thinking that.
Yeah.
Okay,
We could definitely bring it to their attention.
okay. Thanks.
And I think David sent y'all a report. I've got some even more good news from Mr. Bellows. Tuesday, if weather permitting, at 9 o'clock, Dominion's gonna come take those trees out.
Awesome, and I also saw that they were working down close to the bridge, starting to clean that up, so that was a promising site as well.
Yeah, we've had the inmates working down there some, and we got some brush to chip up and different things. And, you know, just so that you know, when we left that meeting, I got thinking about it, and the bridge is 2 miles long, and the work zone is 2 miles long. And, you know, I've been here almost 4 years, I hadn't really thought about what you do working right at the bridge. And you have to have automated flaggers also if you're working on the bridge. So we got with Bridge, they met and got everything together. So we have a plan, and, you know, hopefully we'll take care of the tree. There's some patching and some things to do. So we're gonna try to coordinate it where it doesn't impact traffic too much, just knock it all out in one day, so. But we are working on it. And this week also, we got a concrete contractor coming in to do some improvements on some DIs, some sidewalks and different things. So that'll be going on, and we've got the sweeper truck
Is
coming in.
that mostly in the town of Kilmarnock, or?
It's actually gonna be Kilmarnock, Whitestone, and Irvington.
Because I know that's, Dr. Love had posted about an issue right
Yes.
next to his office, looked pretty
That's
safety concerning, so.
Wheels of Progress, again, we've been working on that for about 6-7 months, and it's finally gonna happen either this week or next week, so.
It actually started Monday to be repaired, but there's a funeral on Wednesday, so we didn't want to interfere with that, so we started early.
And we have a sweeper truck, and they're gonna work on all the curb and gutter throughout the county for the next couple of weeks too. So if the weather stays pretty, we'll get a little something done. Y'all have anything else for me?
Thank you.
This is Jamie Horn. He's my boss. He's a maintenance operations manager. He's been there since August, so he came tonight to the board meeting.
Thanks, Jamie. Nice to meet you.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Tax is done.
That's another whole story. All right.
Schools, Ms. Davis?
Good evening. I'm just going to give a quick update as to the renovation at Lancaster Middle School. With our spring break coming up next week, we're taking advantage of no one in the building. So the side of the building that is currently occupied by students and classrooms will be empty. So the new LED lighting is going in there. It took a very long time to get the LED lights in. So those will be going in there, so when the kids return from spring break, they'll have the nice bright lights in the classroom. Continuing to do some site work and finish up where we took out the old heating units. The terrazzo is being refinished in those sections, so that'll also happen over spring break. And we are starting and completing the new septic line that runs from the Early Childhood Center out to School Street. So just plugging along, no big new events this time, like the playground or anything like that, but staying on schedule and moving forward. We also took, last week we had a teacher work day, so we took all the staff and the teachers from the primary school, the Early Childhood Center, and the middle school. We did a tour through all the construction areas, which was really neat, because if you go in the front of the school where the old admin offices were, all the walls are gone in there. It's just completely empty and saddled up. It's really neat, so. It's a neat process. It's going to be beautiful. Any questions?
Everything's still on schedule, right? For
Everything's
September.
still on schedule. Yes, sir. Hopefully it stays that way.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, next is public hearing, application for special exception to expand and enlarge an existing authorization of non-conforming structure. All right, Mr. Farrell?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Board of Supervisor members. What we have in front of you tonight is an application for a special exception by River Road Retail LLC, CO Sheila O'Brien, whom is manager. This is the establishment at 10033 River Road, better known as Ellen's Country Store. This is a special exception request to enlarge or expand a prior non-conforming use on this lot. It's an R1 zone property, better known as tax map number 25-190. This parcel is located off River Road in District 1. In your package, you'll notice that the county has a list of non-conforming properties, parcels in the county. This is highlighted as one. The goal is to build a new structure to have an establishment or store still working, and then demo out the old one that is apparently not feasible to fix up. The applicant is here. If you have any questions, she's willing to answer any of the questions you have. And to date, we have not had any opposition from APOs, but one in favor.
One in favor. Okay. All right. Ma'am, you want to make a statement or something before we open it up for public hearing?
No, my name is Sheila O'Brien. We are full-time residents as a result of COVID, as a matter of fact. We purchased the store April 23rd of last year with the intent specifically on renovating the existing building. But after having a lot of assessments and relooking at some other aspects of the property, Plan A was moving into a new building which will be located north of where the existing parking lot is. So, and that's ample space for us to be able to relocate it there. We wanted to have the new structure built while still operating the existing business to continue to serve that community that's down there. Specifically with the EBT benefit to try to keep that ongoing, especially throughout the winter. And so that's why we chose to have that rather than to be able to shut the building down or shut the business down while we are doing those renovations.
Okay. Any questions before we open up for public hearing?
I would just say, I had a fried bologna and cheese sandwich from there not too long ago, and it was out of this world.
That'll stay. That'll
I
stay.
think give her whatever she wants.
I was going to bring a platter of sandwiches, but I thought that might be too over.
Somebody say you're bribing us. Okay, thank you. All right. All right, we're going to open the floor up for public hearing, but again, 3 minutes, your time frame, and at the end of 2, I will hold up this sign saying you have 1 minute left. All right? Public public hearing is now open. Anybody want to speak? Anybody want to speak? Anybody online?
We've got a sign-up sheet. I don't know if anybody's on it.
We had some people sign up, but I think it was for public input.
Okay. All right, so at that point then, public input session is closed. All right, what's your pleasure? All right, motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept this application or approve this application for special exception for River Road Retail LLC.
All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous vote. Okay. Thank you, ma'am, been approved. Okay. Next one, application for special exception to enlarge an existing authorized non-conforming structure. Mr. Gill and Mr. Farrell.
Mr. Chairman, the first public hearing was for a commercial structure on a residential property. This is almost the exact opposite, where you have a residential structure on an industrially zoned property. Same special exception required to expand the residential property. The parcel and the structures will meet the Chesapeake Bay Act requirements, so there's no issue there. Parcel's existing water and septic will accommodate the expanded residence. So this request is similar to the first, except that it's a residential structure on an industrially zoned parcel that is seeking to be enlarged and requires this special exception. Adjoining property owners have been notified, advertising conducted as required by law. I've only had one response, and that one response supports this request, and that was an adjoining property owner.
All right,
And the applicants are here tonight as well, if you have any questions of them.
okay. You all want to make a statement or anything before? Okay, good. All right, any questions yet before? All right. Okay, all right. Public hearing is now open. Any comments? Online? All right, no comments. Public hearing now closed. All right, all right. Motion? Who's fine?
I approve this application for special exception by Gerald and Deborah Abbott.
You make a motion to approve.
I make a motion.
You've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous vote. Motion passed.
King Smith down there.
That's what my wife says.
All right. The next one is proposed fiscal year 24 public school budget. Mr. Gill?
Mr. Chairman, the school board has passed a budget that is pretty close to level funded. It has 33,000. My computer's not coming up, so I don't have the exact numbers until I can look at the hard copy here.
33,635.
Yeah, $33,635 more for the local funded side under general operating, and $1,057 more under textbooks for FY '24 over FY '23. The entire school budget has a reduction of $1,105,921. As I said, this is the budget that the school board passed back on March 13th, I believe. This is the Board of Supervisors' public hearing of this budget, and you know that state law requires that you cannot take any action tonight after the public hearing. You must wait at least 7 days before taking action on the budget, and you have previously scheduled Thursday, April 13th at 7 p.m. as the date and time that you would take action and adopt a school budget. So with that, I know several members of the school board are here, as well as the superintendent and the director of finance, and I'm sure they would answer any questions that you may have before you open it up for public hearing.
All right. Any questions, gentlemen, before public hearing?
I don't have any.
I don't have any. Mrs. Davis, you want to make a statement before your public hearing? You don't have to, it's up to you.
Well, I will share that that increase is allowing us to ensure that all of our staff is earning a minimum of $15 an hour across the board.
Okay.
And that's what that additional amount is for, to cover.
Still includes the 5% raise?
It does, across the board, yes.
Did that include the stipends for the coaches as well?
We're working that into, yes, we're raising stipends as well.
Okay. Thank you. All
Okay?
right. All right. The floor now is open for public comment. Mr. Costello?
I was going to speak.
We like having fun on this.
I have to introduce myself, do I? I was going to speak at the input. I spent Tuesday afternoon and before I came up here tonight, watching online for the input you had for the budget for the county. And it's very helpful. I think more people should do it. I understand that Catherine's on it, and I know the Abbotts and Costellos are now on it, and others. It is very good. I wish more people, I wish we advertised it more, so more people can be informed. It would help all of the things, not just for budgets, but for everything else that's going on. They can even participate in some way if, on the input side. It's just good. As far as the school budget, we've been tutoring for 25 years or more, and we believe in the schools, Ann and I, and we think it's important, and it's growing, and it's doing much better. I wish we could pay them more to do what they're doing. They deserve it, and it will help us get more. Every time we can do it, however we can do it. There was one thing I noticed in the paper that Northumberland is now making their bus drivers full-time. I don't know, are our bus drivers full-time? They are already. That's great. I didn't know that. I thought they were still part-time. But I am very much for this, and I think that other people that go against it really need to think twice. Public schools are the greatest, and the kids that we had tonight are examples of it. The tutors, kids that we've been tutoring, are doing better. I've seen a big difference as the ages come up from preschool and so on. But thank you very much. I appreciate the way you and the board are working together. Thank you very much,
Thank you,
both
sir.
of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else from the audience? Anybody online? No, sir. All right. Public hearing now closed on this particular subject. All right, and as Mr. Gill said, we will vote on this at a later meeting. All right.
April 13th,
April 13th.
Thursday, April 13th at 7 p.m.
All right. Now we go into the consensus docket, but before we make a motion on that, I would like to make a correction to this. All right. Tab 2, page 11 of 13. Page 11 of 13, second paragraph, line 3, where it reads about job opportunities and not population. Add between not and population, doubling the. All right, so she'll be reading about job opportunities and not doubling the population. Okay, thank you, ladies. All right. Okay, that's one correction, and that's it for me for corrections, all right?
You want to move for approval on those corrections? I move for approval with the corrections Mr. Palin acknowledged.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous vote, okay. All right, now consideration docket.
Let me get it up here so I can actually see it.
Okay.
My failing eyes.
Well, first of all, we need to approve the consensus docket, yeah.
We just did that.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
you just did
with the
that.
correction.
Yes.
All right, consideration.
I move that we approve the total expenditures for the month of March 2023 as follows. Total invoices, $2,185,615.99. Total payroll, $362,376.56. For a total of $2,547,992.55, of which loan payments were $82,494.38. Capital improvements were $319,400.14, and ARPA expenditures of $1,039.84.
All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote. Motion approved. All right. Request for donation of 3 pictures of former pastors of Radical Baptist Church. All right, Ms. Pittman.
She wasn't sure you were going to ask her to speak, but
Okay.
So I am Kathy Pittman. I'm the chairman of our history committee at Radical Baptist Church. And we are putting in a history room at the church with future plans of hopefully a museum, because we are the Mother Baptist Church of the Northern Neck. The Baptist churches in this area all are our daughters and granddaughter churches. And we're trying to obtain artifacts and things that we can use in the history room. And there are 3 prior pastors hanging out here in the lobby. And we thought, well, now that this building isn't getting used out there quite as much with the new courthouse and all that, that perhaps y'all would be willing to donate them to the church for our mini museum to start off with, and then into the museum at a later time.
Okay. Any questions, gentlemen? All right, I have a question.
Okay.
All right, number one, in talking with the Historic Society, we wanted to have a further discussion with them. People do come over here and observe those. All right, the next question I have for you, would you be satisfied with a picture of those? Rather than us donating them to you, you make a picture of them, and then you could use that in your museum. Because we have history with those out there.
If the answer for my original request is declined, then yes, that would be nice if we could do that.
Okay. All right, so, all right, thank you. All right, my thinking, gentlemen, at the present time, we probably need to discuss this a little further before we make a decision, have a little bit more discussion with the historic office over there next door. And then we can make a decision at a later date and let you know. Okay. All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank
you. All right.
Are they on property of the Historical Society, or are they property of Lancaster?
They're ours, aren't they?
They're ours, okay.
they're the county's property. And they're in the foyer right out here.
Yeah, we just had a history lesson out there.
All right. All right, resolution of adoption of the 2023 Northern Neck Hazardous Mitigation.
I think Matt is online.
Okay.
If you have any questions about this. I will say that, this plan has to be revised every 5 years, and this is the current cycle. There were numerous stakeholders involved with this revision. It is for the Northern Neck. We would be the first county adopting it, and the reason it's on the agenda tonight is, as you know, we have submitted a FEMA a BRIC grant. It's Building Resilient Infrastructure Communities to possibly aid in the Windmill Point project that we have going on. And I don't know that getting this passed sooner than later would help that BRIC application, but it certainly wouldn't hurt. So that's...
It also can potentially open up other avenues of sources of money, so I move for adoption.
All right.
I don't know if Matt had anything to add. Mr. Palin, you can ask him if he had.
Chief Smith, you have anything to add?
Nothing to add there. I can answer any questions if you have any. We're up on our revision. We're required to have this in place every 5 years. So this just meets 44 CFR Part 201.3, I believe, and keeps us in compliance. So we are required to have it for any FEMA sponsored grants that we have to put in for. That is just one step for it too. But I can answer any questions. I know it's long.
Do y'all have any questions?
I tried to make it easy, easy for you to sort through.
All right. Okay, thank you. All right, somebody want to make a motion?
Oh, you got a motion on the floor. I
Okay.
think Jason made it.
Jason?
I made it.
All right. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Unanimous vote. All right, so, Mr. Gill, let's see. Mr. Gill?
Your last consideration item tonight, Mr. Palin, deals with the opioid abatement that's going on in this state. You remember back in, in the country, you remember back at your November 2021 meeting, the board adopted a resolution approving the county's participation in that initial round of settlements for opioid-related claims, and there were numerous pharmaceutical companies there. This is for another round with different pharmaceutical companies, and in order for Lancaster to claim its share of those opioid abatement funds, you need to pass this resolution doing so. We've gotten several monies from these claims already. They're in a separate fund. There are requirements for the use of this money. It can only be used for opioid abatement-related services. And so, on Tuesday night, when you had Linda Hodges here from the Middle Peninsula Northern Neck Community Services Board, we talked a little bit about how her organization may be able to help us put those funds in the right places. So what I'm asking for you to do tonight, there is a deadline of April 18th to get this done, so that's why it's on your agenda tonight, to pass this resolution approving the county's participation in this next round of opioid-related claims, and to authorize the county attorney and county administrator to execute whatever documents are necessary to effectuate it.
Don, have Chief Smith or Patrick McCraney given you any indication of how they may be able to spend some of these funds or allocate some of those funds to
Not at
approved
this,
purposes?
not at this time, but I know they have ideas for that, and I mean, that's,
Like, do our deputies and stuff all have Narcan and stuff like that in their vehicles and stuff like that that could possibly be sources?
they do, okay. But I mean, as I said, all the counties right now are just holding on to this money until we get a good idea of how to put it in the best places, and right now, we don't know that.
Because it's got a lot of red tape.
Yes, the short answer.
All right, I move that we approve this resolution. You've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote. All right, motion passes. All right, any board reports?
I don't really have an appointment, but I'll make a comment. At a previous meeting, I had put up I gave Del Rio for the at-large EDA appointment position. He's not able to serve due to some other family issues, and so that seat is back open, and we need an appointment for that. So if any other members have suggestions, then I would suggest you bring those forward at a later meeting.
Yeah, and that is an at-large position, so it does not have to be district-specific.
Okay.
Okay, all right. We have one for Board of Zoning Appeal vacant, and I have a member that I've already appointed to this board as a alternate. I've contacted him. He's agreed that he would accept the position as a full-time participant on this board. So at this particular time, Andy Vini. All right, I nominate Andy Vini for the full-time position.
He'll do a great job.
All right, all in
What
favor?
was this on, the
Board of Zoning Appeals.
Board of Zoning.
So this is the recommendation to the court, or is this?
This would be the recommendation to the court to appoint him as a full member.
Okay.
So I move that we recommend to
catch.
appoint Andy Vini to this board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous vote there. All right, board, motions passes. Okay.
Before we adjourn, I would like to speak in reference to the lady that addressed the board with the house that was decaying and left in bad shape. So we have an issue very similar in the village of Weems, and once it hits home and it's in your backyard, you pay more attention to it. And so as I drive through the Northern Neck, really especially in our county, I see a lot of those. I see a lot of homes that are where the people either left and left it to ruins, or the parents have passed on, the kids don't come back, and we just see it falling down. I don't know what the answer is, because it's private property and they can do whatever they want to with it. But when it does affect the property value of the neighbors, then it really is a problem, because now it's a problem of the county. So it's just something that we need to think about as a board, and how we can address that. And I know that opens up a large can of worms, but it's not something we can keep brushing under the rug.
I kind of agree with you that at this point. The one important thing is that it has no point to write new laws or new ordinances, whether they're Airbnb, short, none of that's gonna matter if the enforcement is not there, and the enforcement is the key to making any law or ordinance effective. And so we can write all the ordinances or have all the ordinance, so we need to make sure that we're enforcing the ordinances. And if we don't have the capacity to do the job currently, then we need to fill the capacity so we can do the job. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's a primary job of our duties. It's a primary job of what we carry out in the county zoning ordinance. So we need, if we don't have the staff or don't have the time frame to dedicate to making it happen,
It's our job.
then we need to make
improve.
sure we get the correct staff and put it in place so we can enforce it to the maximum extent of the law.
We're here to give you guys the tools to do whatever's necessary to make this the best county in the state of Virginia.
May I add as well, sir? So I think what the public doesn't realize, the General District Court is open to the public every Wednesday. The county has been dealing with another issue with towards the upper end with animals. We've been fighting that for 2 years. I know it's everything everybody wants to see change tomorrow. At the General District level, it's monetary fines. Judge Martin will tell you in open court every Wednesday, all he's going to do is put a fine on somebody. He's not going to make someone clean it up. It has to get to the circuit court level, which takes time.
Thank you for your comment and clarification.
Well, it's a process, so
It
we'll
is.
just keep pushing the process.
Yes, sir.
County Administrator?
I don't have anything other than the two meetings that we've had this week. I don't have anything else right now.
We need a closed meeting. You have anything on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got your.
Ready to read this?
Go ahead,
Okay.
yeah.
I move that the Board of Supervisors enter into a closed meeting for, one, acquisition, deposition of real property per section 2.2, 3711A3 of the Code of Virginia, for legal matters per section 2.2, 3711A of the Code of Virginia, and for personnel 2.2, 3711A1 of the Code of Virginia.
All right. We're now in closed session.
Craig's coming, he's in the
All
bathroom.
right. We denied it. I move that the Lancaster County Board of Supervisors adopt the following certification resolution. I wish we could shorten this. Whereas the Lancaster County Board of Supervisors convened in a closed meeting on March the 30th. Okay, good, we know what it is, all right? Okay, all, Mr. Palin, I certify, Mr. Bellows.
I certify.
Mr. Lee.
I certify.
Mr. Geezy.
I certify.
Mr. Smith.
I
All
certify.
right, nothing was took place out of what we see. All right, okay, it's certified. Okay, I will move for, unless we got some other business, I'll move for a motion to adjourn to
April
April
13th.
13th at
April 13th.
5
Make the
o'clock.
motion. Make the
5
motion, sir.
5 o'clock is a budget work session, 7 o'clock is the school board, school budget adoption.
Okay, April 13th at,
Will that be the only
At 5
thing?
o'clock.
okay, make it,
Will that be
That
the
will-
only
okay.
thing?
That'll be the only thing at 7 o'clock.
So we won't be long.
You won't be long.
That's our technically last budget work session, right?
That is your last special meeting. The last two items, your public hearing on the county budget will be at your regular April meeting, and your adoption of the budget will be at your regular May meeting. So April 13th will be your last special meeting for the budget.
I like the way we do this. We used to drag it out and meet and meet and
It
meet.
used to be right down till June 30th. Yes.
What are we doing from 5 to 7?
What's that?
5 to 7 on the 13th.
That is a budget work session. That's where you all are going to do, I'm going to give you the latest version with all all the approvals that you gave me, consensus, and let you look at it again, and then you'll tell me what to advertise. We'll also talk about the tax rate ordinance. I'll have a copy of the existing tax rate ordinance. The budget is built using the existing tax rates. You know, if you all want me to advertise the existing tax rates, that's what we'll do as well. So that 5 o'clock work session is the final look at the budget for you all to tell me what to advertise for your public hearing at your regular April meeting. And at 7 o'clock, you adopt a school budget.
All right. Okay, I move that we adjourn until April, what?
So moved.
All right,
April 13th,
fine.
5 o'clock. Yeah. And there's pizza in the kitchen.